Welcome everyone to episode 2 of the DDP, the Devlin Doull Podcast. My name is Martin Devlin. I work for the platform in New Zealand. My dear old mate Simon Doull, 98 Test wickets for NZ. Covers cricket and commentates all over the world on it, as well as having a brain that just loves to talk about all kinds of sport. We've got many topics to cover in this episode. Kicking it off, of course, with England 4 on the floor, and all of these being fourth innings run chasers. And so the obvious influence of Brendon McCullum, surely, on that England team, especially their batting. Wimbledon, how big is this goddamn thing in England? Is it absolutely nuts? And who wants to jump the K train with me? That's Kyrgios, semi-final up against Nadal. The English rugby team lost to Australia. Does that loss rankle much up where Simon is? Any All Black coverage as well we want to talk about? Women's contracts in New Zealand cricket. Huge story down under here this week with an equal pay parity. So it's a very warm welcome back to episode 2. Simon Doull, g'day.
Marty, how are you?
Bloody good, mate. And look, you know, I must admit that after watching England do it to us in a three-peat, which the more I think about it, the more miserable it still makes me of the lost opportunity there for New Zealand cricket. Park that for a second. But you're there watching this, and you're there watching the transformation, and it went from chasing 290 to 300 to 378, which they achieved in 78 overs or something at about 4.84, Simon. I mean, there has been a palpable change that we're seeing in the way that England attacks this.
And they're very similar teams. I mean, these are still the same players that England have used in the last 2.5 to 3 years. You know, Alex Lees is new, obviously. They've sort of gone away from Rory Burns type player or Dominic Sibley type player. Yes, they brought Alex Lees in. They've kept faith in Zach Crawley. Joe Root's been the best player in the world alongside Babar Azam in the last 2 to 2.5 years. Johnny Bairstow's been a little bit in and out at different times. So, you know, for the most part, these are the same players that England have had. It's just a different attitude, a different philosophy, an unshackling, you know, call it what you will, term it however you want to, but they are just playing with the freedom that I think England are enjoying, for a start, enjoying watching. I'm loving watching it. And the players seem to just be really grasping the ideas that Brendon McCullum and Ben Stokes have thrown at them and put together, and you know, they're taking away a lot of the fluff. The thing about English cricket is that there is an enormous amount of fluff that goes with a coaching job or a setup, because of all the counties, because of the ECB, because of the hoops you almost have to jump through, and there's just a whole lot of stuff surrounding it. Now knowing Brendon McCullum well, he will have just stripped all of that back. And instead of 7 and 8 and 10 page dossiers and reports after test matches, there'll be about 7 or 8 lines. And that'll be it, you know. And that's the kind of thing that England have struggled with for some time now. It's just overcomplication. It's not that difficult. You know, it's a game that we make difficult ourselves, and we don't have to.
It is a game like baseball where so much of it is failure. Simon, I don't have to tell you. In baseball, if you get an average of .300 in batting, that means you failed 7 times out of 10, but that's damn good. In cricket, it's the same thing, isn't it? I mean, so many times you actually fail. But I was interested to see Ben Stokes say afterwards that, look, they want to attract a different generation of fans. All of this is well and good until you start losing again. If they start losing, or if these run chasers had failed, would that approach be being reconsidered? You know, you see where I'm going with this. I mean, you know, success breeds success. I understand all of that.
I don't think it's, you know, I mean, yes, the approach has been good. The approach has been a little bit more aggressive, but at times, apart from 1 or 2 instances, I don't think it's been reckless. It's just been slightly more positive than they may have been previously. And the fear of failure is being removed. And I think that's the greatest thing in sport, isn't it? Probably the worst thing in sport is the fear of failure. So you go out there and you don't allow yourself to unleash. You don't allow yourself to fully give everything you've got because you're worried about failing. And cricket's one of those games that, yes, we call it a team game, but it's an individual game. It's mano on mano, you know, woman on woman, and whatever area you are in. It is the batter against the bowler. And that's the be-all. Yes, the bowler needs his mates. He needs his fielders to take catches. But at the end of the day, you got one bloke bowling the ball and another bloke trying not to get out. Or you know, and that's it. So if you have fear of failure, then your success will not only be limited, it will be fairly short-lived, I would imagine, as far as a Test career is concerned. And so you strip all that back, you take away that fear of failure, you don't allow these players to worry about what might be. You just encourage them to talk about imagine if, and I think that's the key.
The DDP, the Devlin Doull Podcast. All right, so I'm going back to Batch in 1989. We're in John Bracewell's pants in Perth and battling all day for a draw. I'm going back to Monty Panesar at Eden Park. He might as well have walked out with no bat, mate. He had no clue, but he batted 4 overs and saved a draw. Are we going to lose the honourable draw? And also, how about you retract this whole thing about 4-day Test cricket? Because that's gone out the door, mate. I mean, this is obviously showing everyone that you can play 5 days and you can get a hell of a result and you can resurrect this side of the sport.
Absolutely. Look, 5-day cricket's 5-day Test cricket's here to stay. There's no issue about that. I think they talked about, and there was talk about 4-day Test cricket, and I didn't have a problem with it as long as they bowled more overs.
That's right. I remember
what you have seen in the in the Test matches that have been, there would have still been, if you have 100 overs a day, you're still going to get 400 overs in a 4-day Test match. Well, I think most of these games were finished inside of 400 overs anyway. But that's a moot point because it didn't happen and it's not going to happen. I think they are possibly just reminding people how good Test match cricket is. The great thing the ECB did and that all the counties that participated did was just let the crowd in on day 5.
Okay, that's
so every
great
one
idea.
of these 4 Test matches has been free entry on day 5. So you actually are encouraging people to come along. You still have to go to the website and get your tickets, but it's free as long as you put your name in.
Women's cricket and the contracts, Simon, and I know that you're like me. I just applauded this absolutely, the equal pay parity here for New Zealand on the same day, the same play. But the old mate Andre Adams, who's a mate of yours as well, pointed out to me, and I just shamelessly thieving what he said here, that, look, it's also about the investment. It's not just about paying the pay packet to the best players. There's got to be some real investment from New Zealand cricket in terms of quality coaching, in terms of getting our players to be better skilled, to be fitter, to be stronger, to have a better mental attitude in terms of closing out games, which we didn't see with the White Ferns in the Cricket World Cup. So this is all good and this is all positive to me, but it can't just be that cash. It's got to be cash that's invested in their game as well, because then it'll be taken seriously. Then they get better. Then they get better crowds. Then the excitement's better. Then you get sponsorship. Then you can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah, all of those points are very, very valid. I think it's been a long time coming. Decent pay for our female cricketers. I don't think I don't think they've been professional, as in paid professionally. And at times, I don't think they have, and this goes for some of the men as well. I don't think they've acted in a professional manner as far as thinking that getting paid makes them professional. Professionalism is an attitude.
Yeah,
it's not about getting a paycheck. And I haven't seen enough of that from some of our girls in the last 5
entirely
6 years.
fair.
We have got
totally
worse.
Fair. Yeah,
we have got progressively worse in the last 5, 6, 7 years, that New Zealand women's cricket team, and yet we still keep banging on about having these world-class players. Well, when you look at the numbers for our apparent top 2 players, who are Sophie Devine and Susie Bates, if you look at their numbers against the top tier nations in world events, they are very, very ordinary. They beat up on very poor opposition, and have continually beat up on very poor opposition. But when it comes to Australia and England and India in world tournaments, they've been found wanting at times. And if this is going to help them get better and be more professional and be a better side, then I am all for it and absolutely for it. It must start at a younger age, though, and we must start getting good coaches. New Zealand cricket have been negligent in their appointments of women's coaches, going back to Bob Carter.
Yeah, totally.
Time after time after time
totally.
is an absolute joke. Bob Carter was sort of, his theories and things were old 20 years ago. And it's sort of been jobs for the boys, and I've not agreed with that whatsoever. So, if they want to do this properly, then do it properly. Don't just say we're going to pay the woman the same amount of money, because it won't do any good unless you start at that younger age, make coaches better, training better, have absolute fitness standards that are at the professional level, not fitness standards where some can pass and some can't, and if you can't pass, then it's okay, don't worry about it. Don't go off and play your cricket in Australia. Don't go and play the Big Bash, the Women's Big Bash League. If we're going to pay you properly, you must stay at home and you must make our championship better. You must make our Super Smash better. So, the men are not allowed to go and play unless there's a genuine window given. And so I don't feel that the women should be allowed to go and play unless there's a genuine window given. But we won't see the results of this, Marty, until I'm thinking probably 5-6 years. If we start to really focus on 13, 14, 15-year-old girls at the moment who are choosing cricket, and there's plenty of them, and start really focusing the coaching on that area, saying that, look, have a look, there is a genuine job opportunity in cricket for you. This is the sort of money you can earn being a white fern, but this is the path you have to take, and these are the standards you have to set. And if they start doing that and put the right coaches at the right levels, then we can get better. But I don't see it happening overnight just because we're starting to pay these girls.
The DDP, this is the Devlin Doull Podcast, Episode 2. Martin Devlin from the platform. Simon Doull, international man of much renown, poise, charm, and cricketing commentary expertise. I want to turn to some other sports that you love as well, and I don't know whether or not people know that you have you adore all sports. You've got something to say about most sports. Wimbledon at the moment, mate. How big is this in England? How much noise does it create? And are you jumping the K train like me? I have heaped on Kyrgios his whole career, but this guy is poised. He's poised, mate. He's got Rafa injured. He's hitting the ball like an absolute beast at the moment.
Is Rafa really injured though?
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing, It's I wonder about Rafa, and I wonder about Novak, and Rafa goes off the court time and time again. I've seen him do it over the last 5, 6, 7 years. When he looks like he's down, he goes off and takes an injury break, just to break the other guy's momentum. He's done it time and time again, and it must be infuriating for the opposition. For the opposite
well, surely
player.
Part of it is that once you actually wrestle your opponent to the ground, I mean, the attritional aspect of it, this is what I hate about tennis. Stay out there and play, mate. That's and if you can't play, well, then I've beaten you into the ground. Isn't that fair?
Yeah, if you have to leave the court, then your game's done.
I reckon.
If you can't get a little bit of treatment, 2-minute injury break on court, treatment done, unless it's a sensitive area, and I know that's one of those things where, they can't show it on TV and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm with you, mate. I'm on the K train. He's one of those players, isn't he, that you just love to hate.
Yes.
Or hate to love. I don't know, but I can't stop watching him play. You asked me how big it is. I am in a place called Chiswick, which is, I'm throwing it out there, Marty, but I'm less than 5 miles, I would say, from Wimbledon.
Oh, okay, right.
And it is manic. You just cannot go anywhere near that area at this time. People are queuing. What happens is that the tickets get sold. They're all pre-sold, and then people start queuing at about 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. And when people have finished their morning session or their afternoon session, they've seen the tennis they want to see, they come out and then they hand a ticket in, and someone else can buy a ticket.
Oh, I see.
And get in the gate. But it's such an amazing, if you have never been to Wimbledon and just walked around the outer courts, it is such a cool experience. I absolutely love it. I've loved the times I've been. I've sat in the commentary box on centre court, looked through one of those tiny little glass windows and watched Federer play. I've been out on court 18, watched John Isner. I've wandered around. It's just a magnificent complex. So to say that it sort of owns the 2 weeks, and prior to that, you go to Queen's as well, and it's just a real tennis buzz around that sort of June, July time.
Simon Doull with us on the DDP, which is the Devlin Doull Podcast. The Poms lost to the Oz at rugby. Sir Clive doesn't waste any time, does he? Kicking the hell out Eddie Jones. You don't want him to win a World Cup. So I want to know how big a deal that was. And also, with the All Blacks playing as well against Ireland, and you've got South Africa against Wales, I mean, is rugby big time up there at the moment?
Switched the telly on very early the other morning, Marty, and obviously saw Sean Fitzpatrick and Ronan O'Gara, who were doing the build-up for Sky Sports over here on the rugby channel, and it was just wall-to-wall rugby all day. And then the pundits changed as the games changed, but it was wall-to-wall rugby all day, and you can watch, and they love it. Like, obviously the Premiership, the Aviva Premiership's come to an end. It's about to come to an end up here. So, or it has come to an end, maybe last weekend, sorry. Rugby's front and centre, the international window, and then obviously they go through all of this in the Southern Hemisphere, and then they come back and the All Blacks come here later in the year as well, don't they? Unfortunately, I just missed that one down in Wales. I'd love to attend a test match at the Millennium Stadium. I'm not sure whether you've been, but it's one of those places. I mean, I think there and Loftus.
Yeah, I like Loftus as well. There's something about Pretoria. There's something about whole thousands of people wearing carrying pitchforks and wearing dungarees and chewing a Doberman leg going to a game of rugby. I mean. Honestly, I think
they're the two for me that I think I would love to watch an All Black game in those two venues first and foremost, and then obviously I've seen plenty of All Black games around the world. I was at the World Cup final in 2015 at Twickenham, which was unbelievable. But yeah, just those two venues for me would be exceptional. But rugby's front and centre. Good weekend for the Southern Hemisphere, which was nice to see, and I think England. They would be disappointed because I believe they would have thought they could catch Aussie on the hop, but couldn't quite get it done.
All the very best, mate. Thank you as always. We'll talk again next week, episode 3.
Cheers, Marty.